Well, that in fact is one of the great puzzles of our lives, that neither Al-Qaeda nor Al-Nusra nor any front, nobody, they plague each other from Iran to Saudi Arabia to Iraq. No one ends up plaguing Israel, for heaven's sake. Therefore, I mean, I'm not pointing towards a huge dark conspiracy, but it is something worth noting that none of them actually, there's no story, there is no event where they have made any direct intrusion or effort or anything to undermine the state of Israel. They never have. The other question I was asking is, Ayatollah Sistani said something recently. He said that we need to have a more all-inclusive government, which was as critical as he could be of Nur al-Maliki. The question here, therefore, is that, yes, there is ISIS, but ISIS is actually become has collected a large coalition of all sorts of interests who have suffered a status reversal since 2003, April 9, when Saddam Hussein's statue was pulled down, and it was announced that they have won, that the Shia power, in fact, had been announced.
This is actually a very interesting point you've raised, because this is precisely the advice the Russians gave Assad when the crisis first started. They said, try and engage with the opposition now before the sort of hardline elements just capture the agenda. But at that time, it wasn't taken seriously that you could have such a large insurgency being fueled from the outside. So the Iranians are also advising Baghdad to try and at least accommodate the large rural tribes that are simply caught in this crossfire. And but I also see something else within Iran as well. You have within the Iranian regime also a sort of a domestic sort of a difference in the sense that when is the right timing for your rapprochement with the United States? What are the level of concessions that you should make? What type of regional power do you want to be? Do you want to still work with the Americans? Do you want to resist them? So this is playing out a little bit, and they're not quite sure how far do you want to push and overplay our hand in Iraq to embolden and strengthen the hands of the hardliners in Washington. So there's a lot of that game being played.
A lot of that, and they still are trying to gauge how reliable the partners are across the poker table. I think that also the Iranians are extremely wary.
I don't actually see it that way, Saeed. I think the Iranis have had an extremely sophisticated policy towards the United States from which they have not budged. It's the United States which keeps playing hot and cold. It is the US media which keeps suppressing certain facts, then going up and emphasizing the same facts. The basic things the Iranis put on the table about 10 years ago on the nuclear deal continues to be there with no significant change at all. That's one sort of thing. Their relationship changes according to the changes in the geopolitical situation. So, for example, at the time of the American invasion of Iraq, the interests of Iran and United States coincided for about 6 months. Get rid of Saddam Hussein, bring the Al-Dawa and all of these people, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Sistani, that's a very noble sentiment, that you should have a more inclusive. The time for that is gone. At the moment, the only Sunni leaders who are available to join that all-inclusive government have no following among the Sunnis, among the Sunni people. So you can shuffle around.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has run away with the show.
Well, he has run away with the show. As you said, it has become an umbrella behind which all kinds of people are working. They themselves are numerically, I think, very small. The largest part of what is at stake are actually ex-Baathists and the Naqshbandiya tariqa.
Yes.
Those are the two real players among the Sunnis.
Right, that's it.
ISIS is the umbrella under which they are working. Some of them may have put on those things. They may actually be Baathists.
Now, if you have Baathists and you have Abdul Qadir Jilani's followers and the Naqshbandiya Silsila, Izzat Nuri, and these people, then you have a moderating force there.
Extreme.
I mean, then you have a moderating force.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is not Baghdadi's show. It becomes Baghdadi in chains with the. Let's be careful. What is happening, therefore?
I mean, in chains is going a bit too far. If you have the finance, if you have the weaponry, if you have the international backing, you're not in chains. That it is very fragile, we don't know. It is going to break. The Baathists are secular. They're not even particularly Sunni sectarian. They're secular. Naqshbandiya are a very moderate Islam. They are not sectarian people. So, in that sense, yes, this is a very small group on the whole. But it is a group that is battle-hardened. This consists of a lot of Iraqis who were sent by forces that be from Iraq to fight in Syria.
Yes.
It consists of all kinds of people from Chechnya to God knows where. So, all of that put together, it's not a minor force. So, when this begins to break, it's going to be explosive.
Yes, Zorawar, what were your final thoughts before we wind up?
If Iran's geopolitical development towards its west is going to be in trouble now, it will look for alternative options to develop its economy, security, and that comes in where Asia comes in. And you're already seeing some voices within Iran that they want to develop the Chabar Post, the Makran Coast, develop lines of communication into Central Asia, Afghanistan. That's where you see Indian and Afghan interests converging. And it's actually refreshing that the government has already carried on and finalized the Chabar port, which will provide India an only reliable, independent line of communication to Afghanistan. The second point is energy security. You have the second largest natural gas reserves in the world, close 1,000 kilometers from Indian shores, but we've done sort of nothing about it. You have the only option really from a security perspective is a subsea pipeline. It's been talked about for the last few years, and it's already apparently was brought up when the Iranian foreign minister visited in March. So that's something which you can pick up, and these are the two immediate sort of aspects where India can sort of benefit from sort of some pressure on the Iranians, where it can possibly even bargain for good terms.
The worrying part for India is, and for all of us in this region, is that on the one hand, look what happened. The Americans intervened in Iraq and they left, and this is what has happened. This is what has happened. After 10-year long occupation, training of the army has just completely wilted under very little pressure. Now, let us consider this as the backdrop for what is likely to happen in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is not as severe because unlike in Iraq, where you had so many spoilers, here you have just one, east of the Durand line. Everyone else wants to shore up the Kabul regime. Iran, Central Asia, Russia, India, and possibly even most of the international community. So you have some hope there, but India, for its part, has to continue to build up support and do whatever it can, short of putting troops on the ground, help the Kabul regime strengthen itself.
Should India engage? Should India re-engage? Can India? Is there any interest for India there?
Well, for one thing, it depends how you think of the region. One thing I wanted to say is that you should hope for the best, but you should prepare for the worst. If and when it so happens that the Taliban of Afghanistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban of Pakistan succeed in their projects the way ISIS or IS now is succeeding at the moment. If you will have a khilafat of a very different magnitude right on our borders.
That is why I raised the subject.
You know, you have to prepare for the worst. It's a serious possibility that the Pakistan army may split. I'm talking about a certain kind of scenario, that the Pakistan army itself might split and join join up with them. The emergence of an extremist Islamic Takfiri state in Pakistan is not beyond the range of possibility. So the Indian foreign policy, I think, has to rethink itself from top to bottom about this region.
On that note, thank you very much, Aijaz. Thank you, Zorawar. There we are, as usual. This is a running, developing story. We shall revert to it again. The two aims of the various alliances, United States and Saudi Arabia, they wanted initially to get rid of Bashar al-Assad in Damascus, and that did not happen. Then the elections took place, and Nur al-Maliki, not the most popular man with the Americans at the moment, he won yet again. Now some kind of change is in the air. Let us see which way the cookie crumbles. Thank you and goodbye.